awareness of the entire tradition as it developed, you get the, or you are able to cultivate the ability within yourself to look at things from the perspective of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if the ultimately ijtihad boils down to this: if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was here at this time, what would he do in this particular? What judgment would he give in this? Would he give in this matter? And nobody can just simply do that. Nobody can just claim to do that. I mean, people do that nowadays, but that's really, you can't, unless you have been completely immersed within this tradition of which was built around companionship, which was built around a complete engagement with the entire tradition as such, and then you then develop a capacity of sorts to look at some things, a thing from the perspective of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and say, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was here at this time, he would have given this judgment. And this continues since the time of companions, because obviously new issues started arising even at the time of companions until today. The ulama have been doing this. Of course, this is not the judgment. The final judgment is not definite. I mean, it's not same as the judgment of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the requirement for a person is to exhaust all available resources, all resources available to them, to arrive at a judgment, and then this judgment, the judgment that they arrive at, becomes absolutely binding on them. We hear today of many things. There is there is plurality of opinions, there is different interpretations. But really, what these different interpretations belong to or refer to is commonly to this central understanding that Deen is only that defined by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and an access to that understanding comes through a complete complete immersion within the tradition as it has developed, and accepting that the final word is that of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam only. And then once you have developed the capacity to do that, and obviously we didn't have time to go into details about what capacities are required to be a mujtahid or to conduct ijtihad, but essentially this is what it ultimately boils down to. And then once you have gone to that level of depth, then you can make a pronouncement in Deen, and which will be, though it's not the word of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it will be assumed that this would be the verdict of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and hence would be binding. So this idea that there are different interpretations does not make anything relative. You're not required to, as Muslims, we are required to follow the opinion which we feel is the closest to the Sunnah. And despite the multiplicity, despite the plurality of opinions, the opinion that we follow, or the opinion that we choose to follow, becomes binding upon us. It is not an option. Today I'm going to pray, for example, today I'm going to raise my hands while going to ruku, and tomorrow I'm not going to do that. Today I'm going to say Amin loudly, tomorrow I'm not going to do that. That is not right. That is not acceptable. What every Muslim is required to do is follow, and of course, if you are not qualified as a scholar, then you are supposed to refer to scholars and ask a scholar and stick to that opinion. There is no understanding of this relativism that is coming out from the discourses today, that there are different interpretations and there is a multiplicity and plurality of opinions. Yes, there is, but the requirement is that, because every person, every mujtahid was trying to come to the conclusion that they thought Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have come to, and hence the plurality was inevitable. It was there, but the conclusion that they came to was binding upon them and those who followed their opinion. So this is how we can say that the understanding of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of Deen, and the understanding that he imparted to his companions regarding the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is absolutely available to us in a sound manner, in a complete and undistorted manner, but it requires an effort on our part to seek it from its right place. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to do so. And I'm sorry it's taken